Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's fine. What you doing? Are you staying for play tonight?
I didn't want any part of it.
I know, Clay's smart.
We ask your blessing upon this meeting and upon all who've gathered here. Grant us wisdom in our decisions, patience in our discussions, and respect for the people and perspectives represented before us. Help us to be good stewards of our community, balancing growth and progress with the responsibility to protect what makes this county a special place to live. Guide our words, our thoughts, and our decisions so that the work we do tonight serves both our neighbors today and generations to come. Amen. All right, first thing on our agenda is a request to approve the July 9th minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion about them? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Schoen.
Better.
Better.
There we are. Good evening. Thank you. We have two advertised, one advertised continuance and one advertised tabling. And then we had a late request for continuance. I'd like to go ahead and take those all up front, if that's all right.
Sure.
All right. The first item, the EAR-based text amendments to the comprehensive plan. It was recently determined that some additional legal review would be needed here. I'm requesting a table, or to table the application until that's occurred. I will bring it back. It could even be as early as next month. Just the timing of legal and planning staff is just really hard to hone in on. So, but it'll be back as soon as that's occurred, so.
Do we want to entertain, have a motion for each individual item?
This is the only tabling?
Table, okay.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to table the agenda item number 2?
Second.
Any more discussion on that? If not, all those signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay, the next item, item number 3, G&K East Hewitt, small-scale amendment with rezoning. We have a request to continue until September 10th, next month's planning commission meeting.
We have a motion, could I have a motion to table, continue this, not table it, sorry, continue to the September meeting?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion about this? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay, and then item number 6, the Doggett small-scale amendment with rezoning. We have a request to continue to the September 10th Planning Commission meeting as well.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to continue.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Abstention, nays? Abstentions?
Aye.
All right. One abstention. All right. That brings us to item number 4, I guess.
That's right, that is the San Roy abandonment. This is a request to approve by resolution. It is project number PA 26-000003. It was reviewed by Ms. Ayana Reed, and I'll ask her to go ahead and give you the details. Thank you.
Ayana Reed, Senior Planner for the record. Okay, item number 4, San Roy abandonment. This is a request to approve by resolution project PA 26-000003. This is an abandonment application submitted by Mark Douglas requesting to abandon 33 feet of right-of-way along the north side of San Roy Road. The property has a future land use of residential and a zoning of neighborhood infill, located at District 5 at 108 San Roy Road, and is identified by the parcel numbers in your staff report. May I enter the staff report and the public comment packet for this item that's in front of you tonight into the record?
So entered.
May I also enter everything that I state at the dais here in the record?
Absolutely, so
Okay.
entered.
Thank you. So a couple of things to note regarding this application in your decision tonight is that this property has a 33-foot shoreline protection buffer in the rear side of, along these properties, along San Roy Road. And there's also a 33-foot public right-of-way easement along the front setback of these properties. So please do keep that in mind. We do have several staff concerns from floodplain, engineering, and also from environmental, where if the county decides to take an action of approval on this, it may result in non-conforming structures, particularly where the structures may become non-conforming with the shoreline protection buffer in the rear of the properties. So please do keep those things in mind. Do you have any questions for me?
Anyone have questions for Ayana?
Can you elaborate on the shoreline buffer issue? In other words, so their house would be pushed back,
Correct.
causing it to be pushed toward the buffer?
Correct. If we abandon the 33-foot right-of-way in the front setback.
Did the TRC decline?
Doesn't go to TRC.
No. Well, hold on. Yes, it does.
Oh, it does?
It does
Okay.
go, yeah, it went to the TRC on July 15th,
Sorry.
2026, and the TRC recommended denial.
Recommended denial.
Correct.
That's what I asked you.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
For the same concerns that I mentioned here just a moment ago, concerns about its consistency with the comprehensive plan and the land development code, and also concerns about the shoreline protection buffer in the rear and creating possibly non-conforming structures. Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Reed? Okay.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I have a slideshow as well to go with this to help identify some of my points that I think are valid.
Can you state your name and spell
Sorry,
your last name?
Mark Douglas, Douglass.
I assumed that, but Just for the record, we
No
need
problem.
that.
And while she's pulling up the slideshow, I promise you, I have all those elements that were just discussed, those concerns. They've all been identified and resolved. So I can show you guys the evidence on the rear setback and how it will not create any non-conforming structures, as well as resolutions to the engineering department's concerns. We've resolved those. Okay, we got the slides. So first of all, the current title suggests that the application has something to do with San Roy Road. A more accurate title would be a right-of-way abandonment located within private properties adjacent to San Roy Road. That distinction is important because the application does not involve abandoning any part of San Roy Road, any public property such as an alley between properties. This is limited only to a historic reservation patent located within the private deeded boundaries of the 7 properties. Unlike other applications where I've seen, this is not a request to take public land and give it to private owners. Let me first briefly explain how I found out about this right-of-way. When a property became available for sale, I completed the customary due diligence, including title work, survey, review of the deed, and even discussions with planning to understand the building envelope, the permeable space requirements, and the setbacks. After I purchased the property, designed a house, submitted building plans, is when we discovered that the historic federal patent existed, which actually accounts for over 25% of my entire parcel. Throughout the application, there were several misunderstandings surrounding this right-of-way that I'd like to clarify to this board. First, once again, contrary to the name, this application does not abandon any part of the road. It only affects a corridor adjacent to the roadway, which is part of the deeded boundaries within private property. Second, and this deserves repeating, this corridor is located 100% within private property boundaries. It's not an adjacent alley, excess county property, or a public strip that would be abandoned and transferred ownership away from the public. I know some people thought we were trying to abandon public property and give it to private owners, but that's not what this is. Third, this corridor is not functioning as a pedestrian corridor or any type of access. It crosses private driveways, fences, landscaping, steep grade, vegetation, thorny bushes, structure, railroad ties, and other improvements throughout its length. Fourth, if abandoned, this does not get divided between neighboring property owners, like other abandonments I've seen come through. Again, this is not an ordinary county-owned public right-of-way located between 2 separate parcels. Fifth, this historic reservation does not extend to the nearby neighborhood beach access. It terminates 340 feet before the end of the San Roy Road. This demonstrates that the road, the right-of-way affects some but not all parcels in this corridor. I'd like to recap a few points that were made to the TRC that I think would be relevant to this board as well. I did address concerns the TRC had regarding traffic congestion. We installed cameras and we monitored traffic for about 6 weeks on both sides of the road. That evidence showed there was no congestion, but more importantly, we demonstrated that even if there was congestion, this application has no increase or decrease in that in any way. I confirmed through the Professional Surveyors and Mappers Board that the surveyor I had hired had not overlooked this right-of-way because it's not recorded locally against the parcel number in a manner typical easements are often discoverable. Planning staff also acknowledged the same issue to me, stating, and I quote, "If an easement's not found in a typical search, sometimes it's picked up later, sometimes it's never picked up, and sometimes these fly under the radar." I showed the county already did a parking study and a right-of-way study within this corridor. That report specifically mentioned no improvement suggested to this right-of-way. We also received support letters from property owners on both sides of the road. I showed that Public Works has confirmed no plans or changes to this road or this corridor. And we're currently working with all the utility companies, including the lawyer from Clark Partington, who represents Regional Utilities. In fact, this part of my speech, we just got the easements drafted today. I think Ryan is here from Regional. He will come up after me and he will talk about those utility easements that were drafted on behalf of Regional Utilities. But Okaloosa Gas, they actually prefer easements instead of the right-of-way, so they're on board as well. Following our second TRC meeting, we met with multiple county staff members to better understand their additional concerns and determine whether those concerns could be addressed. One of the concerns raised involved environmental's comments regarding the coastal dune lake setback. Those comments were based on the assumption that abandoning the right-of-way affects the shoreline setback. So I met with Brad from Environmental to better understand those comments. He explained that if the abandonment resulted in homes being built farther from the lake, that would be a positive environmental outcome. However, it became clear that his concern was dependent on how that right-of-way affected the rear setback calculation. So I continued to research that. According to CM 1.1.1 of the Coastal Dune Lake requirements, the required shoreline setback is determined by measuring the full depth of the property. This policy measures the setback using the full depth. It does not reduce or alter that calculation because of any right-of-way or easement. Its purpose is to ensure the structures remain farther from the coastal dune lake, which if abandoned, it actually does push them farther, not closer. So to confirm that, I went and met with Scott Rosenheim, the county surveyor, and I have an email from him after my meeting to follow up to confirm our conversation, where he also confirmed that his interpretation, according to CM 1.1.1, abandoning this right-of-way will have no effect on the required coastal dune lake setback. Under his interpretation, this abandonment will not create any non-conforming structures. So that was an important one because that did clarify what environmental's concerns were. I then met with County Engineer Chance Powell to discuss his engineering's concerns brought up by engineering. During that meeting, we discussed that this corridor is not currently used for vehicular or pedestrian travel and serves no current transportation function, which my whole point at the TRC was proving that point. He did, however, say that a future potential use could be a pedestrian facility in this corridor, a sidewalk, which is the reason engineering did not vote to abandon this right-of-way. However, he said a simple owner easement from all 7 of us would allow that flexibility to remain if the county ever wanted to put in a sidewalk. So the parcel owners have already agreed to the utility easements, and none have objected to this new addition of a sidewalk easement. In fact, we've received positive feedback on a sidewalk in this corridor. I then met with Brian Kellenberger to discuss any potential concerns he might have related to this application. He suggested preserving an opportunity for a future 5-foot sidewalk by establishing easements would suffice. He went into more detail, suggesting the sidewalk could potentially incorporate stormwater exfiltration system beneath it. During our meeting, he sketched up a conceptual layout. I don't have his. I recreated it for you guys to see what he did lay out. Looking back, I do wish I met with Chance and Brian before the TRC meeting. My original presentation, as I mentioned, was to prove that there was no current access because it's all part of our front yards and it's with structures and houses. But I realized after those meetings and after TRC that it was important for them to plan for the future if they did want a sidewalk ever down this road. So if approved, Sandroy Road has no changes. Public access remains the same as it does today. Utilities would be preserved through recorded easements. And once again, what I just mentioned, pedestrian facility would be preserved with easements as well. In other words, today's proposal is slightly different than the one presented at TRC because it includes these easements, which has evolved through discussions with county staff to preserve the interest identified during the review process. So the big question is, if the roadway remains, if the utility access is retained, public access remains the same, and the opportunity for a future sidewalk remains intact, what additional purpose would be served by retaining a 33-foot historic roadway reservation located entirely within front yard boundaries, which accounts for 25% of each of the parcels? The Land Development Code provides a process for evaluating these right-of-way abandonments. I believe this proposal satisfies that process while preserving every public interest identified throughout the review process. This application preserves the public interest the county has identified while also protecting the character of the Eastern Lake Corridor and respecting private property boundaries. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the Planning Commission recommend approval to bring us to the Board of County Commissioners. And I think, I tried to go in a little more detail to hopefully give some more information to answer the questions regarding why TRC voted the way they did. It was regarding the fact that no one suggested, and it wasn't their place to suggest at the time, hey, why don't you do an easement? Because they were evaluating on what I presented. So now we are presenting it approval contingent on those easements. So I'm happy to answer any more questions. Sure.
Turn the mic. Oh, yeah, make sure.
I don't really understand the benefit to y'all? What is the, you've done a great job telling us what's not going to be impacted in a negative way, but what is it in for you?
That's a fair question. So there's a couple different things come into play. One, when the county first proposed developing the Eastern Lake out parcel, a huge outcry was developed from neighbors and residents nearby that did not want any changes to the road, the area, or the out parcel. So this is kind of it serves two benefits. One, it helps prevent the fact that the future the county might decide that, hey, let's do something with this area. But it also preserves our property rights as well, because it is within our property and it's within, it takes up 25% of our deeded property boundaries. And in fact, so much so that when we want to build, it pushes our house back 53 feet from the road. And as Ayanna said, we're already 33 feet back from the rear, so it significantly restrains my building envelope. But it also, the purpose is to preserve the area as well.
So if this is approved, what does it do for your building envelope?
It will allow us to push it back 5 feet or so from the lake.
Able to build something?
Well, yeah, we can still build something today, but it will allow, because right now it would force us to build right along, as close as we possibly can to that lake, and that's not ideal for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like us to build or want anybody to build right up against that lake.
So you think that this will ensure that a parking lot or bathroom facilities won't be built at some point in time?
That
Where
is
were
fair.
they proposed? Because I'm not certain I am clear on that. I'd
That
like
was
to
all
be
proposed
clear
at the
on that.
outfall. So that was proposed on the property the county purchased at the end
And
of
do you
the
go
road.
at the end of San Roy? Is that how you get to it?
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, if you look at the first, if you want to pull up the first slide, it
And
shows.
and this will prevent it in what way from that happening? I'm not certain I'm
This
clear.
wouldn't prevent anything with the out parcel itself. That is absolutely a completely different element, but it will protect and preserve San Roy Road to the existing character that a lot of people wanted, including myself. We wanted to keep the road the way it is.
So are you also saying that you were unaware of the restrictions until you decided to do
I had a demolition permit scheduled. Yeah,
Got
it
it.
was,
And
this
then-
this right of way was completely hidden and oblivious from.
Got it.
It's not in a plotted neighborhood. It doesn't show up on my deed, on title work. I went to the Board of Surveyors to report my surveyor, thinking, because I was told by county officials that, well, your surveyor messed up, you hired the wrong surveyor. I'm like, well, he's a licensed Walton County surveyor. So I reported him to the board, and the board came back after extensive research, and they said, well, actually, this right-of-way is not discoverable against your parcel in Walton County. It's not in a typical plotted neighborhood, and it does not show up. You cannot reverse search it. You have to go all the way back to 1940s, the Bureau of Land Management, in order to even find it.
Any other questions for Mr. Douglas?
Just to be clear, if this were to be abandoned, where the easement was goes to the lot owners, correct?
It already, so the way that
Already
I
part of
heard
the lots.
Mr. Atkinson describe it in a previous hearing, because I've watched a few of these, is that we already own the dirt underneath it. We're already taxed on it. It's already part of our properties. So nothing changes in that respect. The county currently has the ability on top of our property rights, if they choose to. But as we've tried to identify, there's nothing planned. Public Works has said we're not planning anything. We pulled up the research that the county hired a firm to do research within all rights of way in Walton County, and this one was identified, and they clearly said, don't make any changes to it. So we've had multiple evidence stating, don't make any changes to this area. But preserving a future sidewalk, I think, is definitely absolutely important. And as we see from the TRC and from my meetings with Chance and Brian, vital to being abandoned. Without that, it wouldn't stand a chance.
I don't know, I just have a few concerns in the fact that TRC and Planning Department said we have these issues, and now you're standing here telling us that there aren't any issues.
That's fair enough.
I'm hearing you say that, but
Well, then,
everybody
if
needs
I
to get on
may,
the same page.
because at TRC, planning's concerns were, if we abandon it, the county has no access ever for pedestrian access. That's why they voted no. And actually, going back at all their recent hearings, they have never voted in favor of an abandonment. But this one, if we allow that easement, that's key, because then it preserves their right to build a sidewalk along this road, which is probably necessary at one point.
So how many of the other property owners, are everybody?
All 7 of the property owners are on board. We all want to do it, and we have support from both sides of the road and from other residents as well.
I guess my only question would be, with this new information, we can readdress, but does that satisfy y'all?
From how I see it, the concerns still stand. From my understanding, as far as the processing and deeming this application as complete, where it can move forward through the process from TRC, Planning Commission to BCC, it's deemed as a complete application, but the final decision and recommendation comes from the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. We are simply presenting the facts as far as the potential concerns that we do have, if we do take government action on it, but that final recommendation is going to have to come from this board. But even with the new information that Mark is presenting, these are still concerns.
Well, my thoughts are, except for the fact that Stephen, go ahead. I'll let you speak.
So I just wanted to approach, thank you. I just wanted to approach the Bayshore Protection Zone and the creating of nonconformities. And then also to agree certainly with Mr. Douglas's point that any future development on those lots, if the easement is abandoned, would necessitate development further away from the bay, right? But the non-conforming aspect of potentially, maybe there's 2 structures that would be non-conforming. It's simply based on the fact that once that easement goes away, the structures would, if it didn't exist in the first place, the structures would have met the minimum, 50-foot dimension for the buffer. Once it goes away, there's no reason why it should have been pushed so far back in the lot, which means in the future, any development on those lots would have to meet that buffer anyways. So that's the non-conforming aspect of this easement abandonment. Again, there's maybe 2, definitely 1. I'm not even sure about the other one where the actual easement lies on that particular piece of property, but just looking at the aerials. But to Mr. Douglas's point, I think there's, how many lots are undeveloped there?
2, I'm sorry.
2. So those lots would be expected to, and would be physically further away from the Bayshore Protection Zone without that easement there. So I just wanted to put those things on the record.
Stephen, may I ask a question for clarity? Because I know this is a point of concern because it's very hard to understand that concept. But when you talked about the one structure, the way the code is now, it's currently non-conforming. This abandonment will not make it non-conforming because you do not measure it. Whether or not they chose or planning chose to allow a different calculation, that is not what the code states. So I'm just want to make it clear that abandoning it will not make any change to whether or not they are conforming or not.
Well, no, so I think the way that the code reads is, and in particular the non-conforming aspects, is it relates when there is a code change, right? So those structures were allowed to go in that location based on a final order or not final order. No, I'm thinking of the variant, excuse me. So the way that the one lot was allowed to encroach into the Bayshore Protection Zone was based on the fact that the easement was considered. I'm sorry, I'm getting the variance application confused here. So the lot that I'm thinking of, and it's not up here that I can actually point to. Is it on your screen?
Can you tell us what numbers are currently not developed? That would be helpful.
It's to the left of number 9. You see lot number, are you on the same screen
Yeah,
as we
big
are?
9.
There's number 9, and there's a vacant lot, there's actually two vacant lots right there.
It's right there.
They're very small, skinny lots, they've already have variances, so their envelope's already established.
So in particular, the one that I'm speaking to, that I'm at least vaguely familiar with, is the structure on what is Lot 10, Government Lot 10, right? So it's closer to the bay that we would typically allow. So if the easement wasn't there, it wouldn't be there, right? So regardless of the easement or not, it was allowed to encroach into the 50-foot buffer. So it would be considered an existing non-conforming use. If the easement goes away, with the easement, it's clearly allowed because it has to stay out of there. So when we calculated that dimension, they didn't use the easement. They didn't use the full property. They used just the easement
So
line.
why isn't that a good thing then?
It
if-
is for the
okay.
undeveloped lots, but for the folks that already built there, they won't be able to improve on that portion.
But you said they're non-conforming right
Right.
now, and this would put them in
No,
conformance?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Mr. Douglas said they're
Sorry.
non-conforming now. So and it's really not necessarily a concern, but the code doesn't allow for us to approve things that would result in non-conforming uses, right? So
Yeah, what he's
that's
saying
where
is-
this concern lies.
Technically, it's non-conforming, but it's not classified as non-conforming because the lot depth was not based on the entire depth. It was based on the depth minus that 33 feet.
So I didn't want to get into this, but I spoke to Matt Carpenter. He allowed that as an option for them. They chose an option. It was not in the code. It's not conforming. They were given an option to be flexible. That was it.
Yeah.
So my abandonment has nothing to do with that, and that's a challenging part, but it's the truth.
Right. And again, it's not a bad thing here, right? I mean, abandoning that and what would result on these built lots isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just the code restricts us from approving things from
That
a
are gonna
planning
create-
perspective that would create that situation. It's my opinion that at least this lot, again, there may be that other one that's further to the east. Is it the east?
Well, some of the houses on this road are actually built inside of this right-of-way as well.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Looks like that one is.
Oh, yeah.
for sure,
And
and then this
So the
one
aerial is accurate, it's not,
Yeah, that was from
Skew.
Scott Rosenheim. He created that.
actually are.
Yeah, the one that's further to the east, that's more on that kind of canted parcel.
Yeah, from what Scott said, it was the Wild West, and nobody really cared about this kind of stuff in the past.
And so why doesn't this help get it out of the wild, wild west and have some clarity, Stephen?
Say that one more time.
Does this not help us with clarity on
So,
this?
I mean, look, he's 100% right. This easement, this particular portion of it has created issues for property owners and for planning staff
Looks like
in the
it.
not too distant past, right? So, now, whether it makes a better situation, I'm not going to testify to that. Just simply, like I said, that there appears that if it's approved, there will be a nonconformity created. Again, that's not the planning department's decision, but it would also result potentially in a better development situation for at least those undeveloped lots. And when it's concerning the Bayshore Protection Zone, that is, so.
Well, my concerns are the fact that planning department doesn't want it, engineering doesn't want it. And I hear what you're telling me, but I'm also looking at my packet. And the packet I'm looking at says engineering does not want this to be abandoned. So-
Engineering has never voted in the history of meetings that I've watched, and they will go on the record, they will tell you they
Right.
never will say yes to an abandonment, because
think
they always
we have
think
one.
we might want it in 100 years, which is why the sidewalk addition, where we're adding that contingency, is key. Because, yes, engineering, would not accept, they won't vote yes, but now that we're having a sidewalk easement, it does satisfy their concerns of future pedestrian access.
But I don't know that.
I think the fact that there's buildings sitting in
In the easement,
portions
yeah,
of the easement
that is a little bit.
complicates matters.
Sure does.
I don't see the county putting a stormwater pond or
Right.
parallel parking
Right.
in somebody's front door.
Well, and that's another reason why this abandonment is important to us.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's completely within the private property.
House is right on it.
Right.
Two of them. The
Yeah.
one driveway and the other house is completely in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a toughie.
Because I don't think a lot of people even knew this right-of-way existed.
Right,
Because the way
well,
it's,
like you said, you didn't know.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna give opportunity for public comment in a couple minutes. So, all right, why don't we open it for public comment?
enough. Thank you so much.
And then if we have more questions, we'll call you back
Okay,
up.
thank you.
Okay, anyone wishing to speak on this topic, come forward, state your name and spell your last name.
Ryan Douglas, Regional Utilities, Douglass. So I
Any
did come to,
relation?
no, we don't think so. We actually
about
had this
that?
conversation a little bit earlier, so don't think so. So I actually came to the previous meeting to kind of express Regional's concerns. Regional Utilities is, we don't support abandonments of right-of-ways. We certainly don't support abandonments of right-of-ways that have established utilities that have been in there for, at this point, 30 or 40 years. We have water and sewer mains. The gravity collection system runs along that frontage all the way back to the lift station on the far east end. That being said, we have been working with Mr. Douglas. We do understand that, or it did appear that he had some traction on this, so we started working on him to specifically establish easements from all of the 7 property owners, specifically to Regional's interest, because we have nowhere else to go. This functionally is half of what was a 66-foot right-of-way. For some reason, the road was built on the south 33-foot, and the north 33 really only houses utilities at this point. But obviously, without that area, we don't have any way to serve everyone, and there's nowhere to move to. So it's really important to us. Easements, we would find that acceptable. We have to have them all in place before we would support them.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other public comment on this abandonment? All right, seeing none. Commissioners, anybody have any comments or any more questions?
I think it makes a lot of sense what they're requesting. I mean, the fact that 7 property owners can agree on anything other than what day of the week it is remarkable. And there was 0 public opposition in our packet. I can see, when you read the staff report, what engineering's concerns really were. The sidewalk could satisfy that. I could see that satisfying. Certainly, with Regional Utilities, they would absolutely need their water and sewer lines protected, and I'm okay with it.
Stephen, I have a quick question.
And you know, and I understand the tricky part of it, creating non-conforming structure, but if, you know, this is real world, if everything was just technical, we wouldn't be sitting here. There'd be a computer. You'd spit everything in. You know, but we have to have the human element and add common sense to,
So my question is, if we approve it on the condition that easements are put into place, would that help alleviate some of the concerns about for future use of that 33 feet?
I mean, I'm not going to speak to, you know, Public Works issues or their concerns.
I'm just worried. My question is, if it's a right-of-way versus an easement, maybe this is a legal question.
It could potentially be. Again, planning's main concern, I mean, really our only concern is the fact that this will create some potential
Non-conforming.
nonconformities.
Gotcha.
Right? There's not sections of the code that, you know, we refer to and say it meets technical, you know, muster. It's just, that's it, the nonconforming aspect. So, as it relates to the easement, I don't know. I don't know if that addresses other concerns or not.
Matt, can you speak to that? I mean, is a right-of-way or an easement better, or, I mean, is it covering the same thing, or is it protecting the utilities?
Well, like most things in law, it depends.
Okay.
What exactly are the terms of the right-of-way? You know, how is it granted? What are the terms of the easement there? So that's something we'd have to look into. I'm assuming this was a patent deed easement that was granted at
Correct.
some point from the federal government when the land was, I guess, split. So it just has to look at the terms of it. But an easement, if one were to be, you know, recommended as part of this process of what he had asked for, and those are terms that would be negotiated and brought before the board regarding what the extent of the easement would be.
Okay.
Yeah, and to that point, we would be asking, in fact, I know Mr. Atkinson has worked on multiple abandonments, and if he was here, sorry, I'm not familiar with you, but I know he would, and I would ask him if he's the one who wants to draft the easements, and I'm sure he'd say yes. Okaloosa Gas said they'd prefer easements over the right-of-way. It makes it cleaner and easier for them. I won't speak on what regional, what their opinion on that is, but they are willing to do the easements. And I think I'm not asking for approval blanket. I'm asking for approval contingent on those easements.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I just wanted clarity on that.
I think if as long as Public Works wasn't, the only thing I see this potentially usable for is parking. Of course, a good part of it has buildings in it. And in abandoning that easement, I think it solves more problems than it creates.
That's what I think too.
All right, then I guess I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Oh, with easements, make it contingent upon the easements.
All right,
I'll second that.
all right, thanks, Tanner. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Mr. Douglas.
Thank you so much, and sorry for everybody here. I know this took a little while, so I apologize, but thank you guys.
Thank you.
Up next.
Huffman.
Oh, Hoffman.
It's off the
Yes, sir,
table.
at least till September 10th, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That pisses people off.
Yeah, what's the question? To get here? We're not even going to hear it tonight. You can come to the meeting in September.
We're statutorily obligated to only make our decision based on what's presented at that moment.
No, I agree. It's crap when this happens, but
Unfortunate.
no.
Well, you save your information and bring it to us in September.
I know.
Yeah, and I respect that. It does happen from time to time.
It'll be more effective if you do it at the meeting. I really do think that you should wait for that moment, and I don't think we can even do it otherwise, but I really do think it'll be far more effective if you do it at that time. And I understand the frustration. But there's no guarantee that the next time meeting will be about.
You can actually find out, well, this was just at the last minute, right?
We prepared it, and my company
his firm
prepared it.
did.
So if you wanted to, just call my office. It's on the letter that we sent out.
Emerald Coast Associates.
Emerald Coast Associates, just give my office a call, even a week ahead of time. But what we're doing is working on Allura, an agreement to hopefully eliminate some of the concerns that you and the other neighbors had. Yeah, it's called a land use restriction agreement. Yeah.
So you can call Emerald Coast Associates, a few days ahead of time and say, is this actually going to be on the September Planning Commission agenda?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, just like you, we
didn't find out. till
we got the
there.
feedback, and just this week from most of the neighbors. So we made this decision that we need to do something to try to work things out with y'all. So that's what we intend to do. And I'd be happy if you call my office even tomorrow, I can give you more details on what we intend to do. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Schoen, item 5. Oh. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Whoa.
Sorry about that. Item number 5, this is Huffman Land Use Restriction Agreement. My name is Ayana Reed, Senior Planner for the record. This is a request to approve by ordinance project number FLU 26000001. This is a proposed land use restriction agreement to address policy L-1.11.7.d associated with FLU 26000001, submitted by Dunlap and Shipment, PA, on behalf of Mary Del Giudice, Revocable Living Trust on 19.9 plus or minus acres. The property is in District 1 on the west side of US Highway 331 South, south of Waterside Lane, north of Mallet Bayou Road, and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record,
So entered.
and also the public comment packets that are in front of you into the record,
So entered.
and everything that I state at the dais for the record.
It will be entered for the record.
Okay. So a couple of things I do want the board to keep in mind, that we are specifically talking about the proposed land use restriction agreement. This board already made a decision on the rezoning and map amendment itself. If you take a look at your agenda request form, that outlines the history of the project thus far. So please keep that in mind as you're voting tonight, that this is only about the land use restriction agreement. This project did go in front of the Board of County Commissioners, and they requested that the applicant provide this land use restriction agreement given the amount of wetlands and floodplain on the site and the fact that it is surrounded by single-family residential uses on at least 3 sides of the site. It is also located along Highway 331, which is a major commercial and transportation corridor. So the applicant did come back with their land use restriction agreement, addressing some of those concerns, and a pretty extensive list of letters of opposition throughout the life of this project, from the rezoning up until this point. So please keep those things in mind tonight. Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the applicant?
Any questions for Ms. Reed? Nope.
Well, yeah, have you,
Yes.
has planning department reviewed the agreement that's been proposed?
Yes.
And
And they're
are
bringing
you in
it.
agreement with it?
Yes, so we had a chance to look at their agreement. We had the applicant provided several iterations of this. Our legal also took a look at this agreement to make sure that they were addressing the concerns from the community. The applicant did a pretty good job of communicating with people that had concerns, particularly the neighbors that are surrounding the property, to address these things in their land use restriction agreement. So I'm sure they may have some comments that they want to provide during the public comment period tonight. And from my understanding from legal's review, we don't have any additional comments or concerns. It appears that the land use restriction agreement provided addresses most of what we are hoping that they would address, given the development constraints and challenges on the site when they go to development order stage. And as we know, the land use restriction agreement that's approved here will run with the land of the site, so.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Gary Shipman, Dunlap and Shipman, on behalf of the applicant. I'm going to have to disagree with a few things on where we actually are on this. We went with a proposed land use change to the county commission. Under policy L-1.11.7, and I admit that the comprehensive plan, it's kind of odd the way it's worded, but it basically provides under section D, if there's a proposed amendment for future land use where there are or potentially are wetlands or floodplains, we're supposed to accompany such applicant with application with a LURA. And that LURA, as opposed to a subsequent LURA that may be connected to a development, doesn't really have anything to do with anything other than the floodplain. And the policy itself lays out exactly what you have to have in the LURA. That's section L-1.11.7 paren B. Brooke, I notice, is not here, but if you read our LURA, it's almost an exact repeat of the comprehensive plan. I have no idea why they didn't write the comprehensive plan just to read, if you do a land use change on a piece of property that has wetlands or floodplain on it, you have to do these things, but they didn't. Instead, they say you have to have a LURA that restricts the land use to these things. So all the county commission did was say, you're going to have to go back and get a LURA and submit it with this. So that's all we're doing here tonight. It has nothing to do with the land use change. We've already debated that in front of you. We'll have to go in front of the BCC. It's that we have to have a LURA that the applicant is agreeing to, that basically says, we're going to do all these things in the comprehensive plan where there is, in areas where there are floodplain or wetlands. And, you know, part of it, what happened here is there is a portion of this property, I believe, that is wetlands or floodplain, not all of it. And to the extent they do anything in that area, you got to comply with these things. I don't know why I mean, like I said, this is one that when we talked to planning about rewriting the comprehensive plan, they ought to just say, if you got wetlands or floodplain, you have to do these things. But instead, the way it's written right now, we have to have a LURA that accompanies the application. That's all it is.
So for clarity, because I watched that meeting too, we are just going to make a recommendation based on the fact that you're now presenting the LURA to us.
All you're doing is making a recommendation as to the LURA,
Yes.
not the land use
Zoning,
change.
correct.
You've already
Correct.
done
That's already
that.
been done.
Because the commission,
They said,
because when Brooke and I
Super
talked to it.
confused because I was like, we
yeah.
already did this one.
yeah,
When Brooke and I talked about it, and I had to agree with her, the way this thing is worded, it makes it a condition precedent to the commission approving or disapproving. They can't do anything without this LURA attached. And we can't do a LURA without going to y'all first.
right,
So that's all this is.
right.
And the LURA is worded, it is a verbatim repeat of what is in the comprehensive plan of, we got to do these things wherever there's a floodplain or wetlands. And mostly it's things you have to do on a development anyway. If there's wetlands or a floodplain, you got to cluster to get it out of there, or to the extent there's anything that is in there, you can't fill more than a foot, and you can't, you have to try to not do it in there, and, those various things we're required to do anyway. So, I'm sorry we're here. I wish we'd just done it with the applicant in the first place.
Okay, a
but-
little bit more clarity. So, oh gosh, this is a little bit confusing. Okay, so I think we voted to allow the
Yes, ma'am.
the land use change. Then it went to BCC and they said, no, you have to start over with this LURA. Is that what you're saying?
What really,
Kind of?
no.
Or
what-
not really?
What
Because
really happened is we got up there and Brooke and I had met beforehand, because Brooke said, I think the way this thing is worded, it requires a LURA to go with it as a condition precedent. And without the LURA, any action taken by the county commission would be invalid. And when I looked into it, she was right. So the county commission has to have the LURA with it before they can vote. They have to vote on both parts.
So why are we not voting on the whole entire thing?
Because you already did it.
Right.
With the Laura, though.
No, we voted on it in April, the April 26th, I think,
Right,
meeting, or
right. So
26th.
now all you're
So
doing is,
Now we're just approving the Laura that's going to go with this to the BCC.
it's not a,
Got
it's
it.
not a reconsideration
Got it.
because
No.
that's why we didn't go to the commission
We're
and
just
say,
saying we're
well,
okay with this, Laura.
yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue there's something wrong with it,
Or-
but since it's
Or we
verbatim,
are not okay with it.
I mean, the problem is, we literally copied in the LURA the section of the Land Development Code. I mean, that's why we, in all honesty, the reason we didn't include it in the first place, because it just makes no sense that you have a section that imposes requirements when you do a change to a piece of property that has any wetlands or floodplain. But then, instead of just saying, this is imposed on you, it says, well, you have to do a land use restriction agreement, but it's not like you have an option.
Right. Okay.
So unless you, I mean, Melissa's here, she can explain the whole history of how this came about, if you're really interested, but
Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. So then what happens if we didn't approve the Laura?
I don't know.
That's my, that's why I don't
well,
understand.
we would go forward to the commission and we would say you approved the land use change and you didn't approve the LURA, and I
That
guess
seems wonky.
and then we would have to explain, well, what is it in the LURA that didn't meet the the comprehensive plan?
Well, and that's why I'm asking why we're not voting on the whole thing or in just voting. This was my first meeting. We had a very robust debate about
Yes.
this.
Did,
And we
and
were
I
divided.
still-
So
and
I still remember all that.
Same, and I still agree with my decision.
I do
So
too.
I'm-
But-
That is why I'm asking these
Struggle bus
questions.
with
Right.
I'm
this,
struggle.
yes.
I'm on the
But-
struggle bus.
It has been approved by the commission to move on.
It has?
It has not.
No, not the Laura.
Oh.
The
No, has-
land use change.
Has it? It has not.
This
No,
commission.
our commission, yes.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Planning, this
Okay,
board.
I'm like, BCC did not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's what I was thinking too.
Look,
BCC.
we didn't,
Continued it.
we raised the issue
Yeah.
because we didn't want a commission action that if it went to a court afterwards would be reversed because you didn't comply with the comprehensive plan. And that was part of the discussion, if you went and looked at that meeting,
Watched it. It was
Wait.
confusing.
where Clay and I were both, and Brooke, were all telling them, it really wouldn't matter how you voted, if you don't have a LURA attached, it's reversible.
Right.
So this is just a
This is-
legal checkup.
Exactly. This is, in my mind, this is just dotting the i's, crossing the t's so it can move back to the BCC.
Right, this is all in the event we or the other side doesn't like the decision of the BCC, it's not a technical, court, you gotta start all over. It's okay, what was wrong?
Okay. Thank you. Anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this topic, please come to the microphone, state your name and spell your last name.
Letcher, Letcher. First of all, we went to the BCC. It was never approved that they would get the easement. So the lure came up that was all new to us. So what are we doing now?
Okay. So it came to the planning commission in
Yes, and y'all
April.
voted that way, but you have to go to the BCC.
Right.
And we went to the BCC.
Right, but the reason the BCC kicked the can down the road, so to speak, they continued it, is because this LURA was not part of the application. So now this is basically doing some cleanup work to add the LURA with the change, the land use
Okay,
change.
so in other words, what you're saying, they have they're getting what they want with changing the easement. Is that right? Not the easement,
Yet,
but,
not yet.
okay.
They'll still have to vote.
The BCC still has to vote on it, but they need this
So
other,
they are going to do away with the zoning, in other words,
they're gonna change the zoning, yes.
for sure.
No.
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 So we go to
that's-
the BCC next.
Yes.
Okay, it's getting very confusing.
It
Okay.
is. This is incredibly confusing.
So what's happened is it was voted on by the planning commission.
Yes, I understand that.
And from here, then it goes to the BCC. But once it got to the BCC, they said, wait a minute, this extra piece is not part of it. And according to our comprehensive plan, it has to be part of this
Okay,
document.
so they do not have that change yet of 2 per acre
Not
like
yet.
it is.
They
Okay,
have not gotten it approved through the Board of County Commissioners. What's happening tonight is we are being asked to approve this land use restriction. That's all that we're being asked. We're
Okay.
not being asked to revisit the land use change or the rezoning, because that's already been voted on by this group. We're just voting to accept the land use restrictions that the comprehensive plan says has to be part of
okay.
it.
It's very confusing.
And then it
for
will
us.
go to the Board of County Commissioners asking for the rezoning with the documentation attached.
Okay, appreciate it. Now I understand, we don't have a lawyer like they have, so we have to, explain to us a little more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Please.
The way it's written, the only reason I can think of that you would even require the LURA is it forces the acknowledgement by everyone involved, the applicant, the county commission, y'all, that if a zoning change is granted, we still can't do anything without coming back with a development order that shows that we complied with all these restrictions. I mean, that's.
That's what the land use, the
Right,
LURA
that-
is.
That's all it's doing. It's really not doing anything else.
Does anybody else wish to speak on this topic? Come to the microphone, state your name and spell your last name.
Elizabeth O'Brien, Obrien. My question to you is, if the application wasn't presented properly to begin with, why wouldn't you address the entire thing again?
It's not that it wasn't addressed or presented properly. That is the confusion that Mr. Shipman spoke about, and even the planning department's attorney, Brooke, all agree that the way it's worded, it doesn't make it part of the original packet. So we're not here to discuss the original zoning. All we're here to do tonight is to approve that addendum, as it were, that's gonna go with the land.
I agree. I don't want the whole thing to go through myself. I have property that abuts that property. But I do agree with Mr. Shipman that it is just a reiteration of what all the codes say to begin with, because when you read through it, it's the exact same thing. So I don't understand that part either. I was kind of hoping the LURA would press them to make more commitments, I guess, to what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And I don't know how else to present that, but that's what I was hoping that they would do. It's really hard because you don't know what they're going to be doing. We
Right.
don't have a plan.
Right.
We
don't
can't
have-
look at the plan and say,
Yeah.
whoa, 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 whoa.
But
You know?
when they do have a plan, they have to follow all these restrictions that are outlined in the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, but that kind of doesn't help us when you're going from 2 units an acre to 12 units an acre in a very small section of that property. That's the part that's very difficult for me to agree with.
I understand.
That's it. Thank you.
The part that's confusing is when we code and do a development order, you're still gonna end up doing yet
Go ahead, Melissa.
I'm sorry, if I may. First of all, Melissa Ward with Dunlap and Shipman on behalf of the applicant. So you've heard a little bit about the history and how we got here. Let me just tell you a few things. Not about the history of Old Walton County Code, because I can and I won't. That's too much time. I'm going to hold this
Meeting's
up.
going to be long enough anyway.
All right. All right. So this is the policy, blown up so we can all look at it. And we didn't want to hand out books this time, though we made them. Here's what it says. It specifically says that the county may or may not. It says it may approve an amendment if the developer agrees. This is the language that was so confusing. The developer agrees to enter into an agreement to do a development a development agreement, right? Agrees to enter into a development agreement to do a development agreement. And here's what that means. Okay, barring that I'm not an attorney. What happened was, in the most recent past, here, let me put it a different way. Here's my experience. In the most recent past, the interpretation made by all the parties involved, including past directors, was that if the developer said, I understand I'll have to do a development agreement, that is the agreement required in this clause, and therefore a LURA was not required. Because the word doesn't say LURA, it says development agreement. The development agreement falls under Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. That's an entirely different creature. So here's what your LURA says for you and what it provides them. It puts on the in the official records, because it's recorded if it gets approved, that anybody, it doesn't matter who, comes in afterwards, has to do a development agreement under the Florida statute on their DO. It gives them more meat to hold on to, because anybody can do a development order and then sell that DO to somebody else, and they can change things without it ever being heard as a public agreement that's been approved and memorialized for a 20-year period. So this language is merely to say, we are agreeing, but in order, instead of us just saying, oh, okay, we'll do that, and then nobody remembers it later, it's a recorded document that runs with the land until a development order and a development agreement is approved by the BCC and re-recorded. Does that help?
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
That developer agreement could actually include more
Significantly more.
than what is it most likely would.
Right.
Because today we do developer agreements on most developments, but until you actually
Have an agreement.
have a development plan,
Right.
I mean, to be honest, this particular piece of property, we don't even have a topo survey, so we don't know exactly all of the floodplain on it. You'd have to address all of that before you develop. And that's kind of been, for years, we've dealt with this in these meetings. For the chicken and egg, everybody's afraid of what you're going to build on it, but we can't really decide what
No.
we're going to build on it until we do design.
Right.
This just takes care of some of it.
Right. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shipman. Anybody else in the audience wish to speak on this? State your name and spell your last name.
Linda Goley, Goley. My mom is Bobby Jean Bird, BYRD. And she has property there at the bayou, at the
Mallet.
valley. Now, are y'all saying that this has already been approved to change the zone from residential to,
It has been by this commission.
so y'all have all said that that it's been changed from residential to
Not
what?
all of us.
It
but
wasn't
yes.
unanimous. Let's put it that way. But the vote was positive on the A side. The nays,
Three.
it was a 4-3 vote to move it to the BCC. And then the BCC, the Board of County Commissioners, has the ultimate yes or no.
In rezoning this from residential to
Commercial.
commercial. Okay,
Correct.
they've had this property for years and residential. So now somebody's coming in and gonna say, okay, you're gonna, possibility that you're gonna do it commercial, so they can build what? Multiple houses, duplexes, store, apartments,
Well,
anything.
you can look in the code and it'll tell you what's allowed under that zoning category. I don't have it
Not
with me.
familiar with,
I know, I just don't have it with me right here, so I'm just saying, it's very clear as to what they could do under that zoning category. So we're not here tonight to debate that because that's already been voted by this group.
that group has already been voted
By
to
this
have
group.
it rezoned to
Yes,
commercial.
yes,
And when did that take place?
in April.
But bear in mind, that's the planning commission. It still
Has
has
to
to
go
go
to the
to the
Board of
Board of
County
County
Commissioners.
Commissioners. They have to approve it. They will look at
Ultimate
this.
authority. They're the ultimate authority. We're just a recommending body.
They will look at the fact that it was a 4-3 decision. It wasn't a 7-0. So, yeah.
So if you are concerned, I mean, the only thing we're gonna
course
talk
we're
about tonight,
concerned.
I understand. But what I'm saying is, only thing we're doing tonight is approving or disapproving the LURA, the Land Use Restriction Agreement. The rest of it's already out of our hands.
Y'all voted back in
Correct.
April.
My recommendation to you and anybody else that's concerned about this, to attend the BCC meeting or talk to the
And when is
commissioners.
that gonna be?
August 25th. At 1 in the afternoon?
That's gonna be,
It will not be here. It's down by where the driver's license facility is.
southwest.
South Agnet. On 331 where the driver's license place is. Okay?
My suggestion too is you might want to talk to your District 1 commissioner before that.
Or any of the commissioners.
Yeah, but it's in their.
It's in their hands. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this topic? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. Any other questions for the applicant or planning staff?
I think I'm still probably with Kristen's, like, still back to the original confusion that if they kicked it back to us because they can't approve or review something without a flu, how could we also do that? Like, I still don't understand why we're not looking at
I
it.
kind of get it because
Right?
we didn't have all the information.
have all the
when we made
information.
our recommendation. So why are
Right.
we not revisiting it?
That's where
Our
I am.
decision. So
Yeah.
that is part, and I agree with you.
Okay. That's my confusion, because I'm like, if they can't review it without all the information, why are we expected to review it with all the information?
I just want to be, I can't really approach those concerns. What I want to do is just make it plain and simple that this LURA is the only thing it's doing is serving to protect the floodplain in accordance with the comp plan, right? This isn't changing the application, it's really completing the application for the board. So I just want to make that as plain as possible.
So do you want to entertain a motion?
Yes, I would entertain a motion.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. All right, we are moving on. We are skipping item 6 because we already continued that. Moving on to item 7.
Give it a minute.
Sure. Number 7, the land Land use, land development code text amendments.
Okay, this is item number 7, I believe. Yes, all right, so this is Development Code text amendments. This is a request to approve by ordinance. Walton County Plan Development Services staff is proposing substantive text amendments to Chapter 4, Section 4.03.00 of the Walton County Land Development Code. The proposed amendments relate specifically to the Bayshore Protection Zone. These changes will affect current standards and components of the protection zone, including but not limited to access encroachments, allowable uses, and other standards. You can see, just briefly, there's a little bit of history. It was literally started last month at the Board of County Commissioners meeting. There were some public comments made that lent itself to the board guiding staff to bring these changes back. Specifically, you'll see, if I could ask you to turn to the first page under the section, you'll see some minor adjustments, just some what I think are just minor clarifications. The real meat of this proposed change starts on the second page, where you'll see up top it starts with an additional subsection 9, allowing for temporary structures and structures that do not have walls nor heated and cooled space, such as gazebos, patios, decks, and other similar structures that they can now be located in this already approved 10-foot wide path that folks can have here. Currently, the way that the code reads, the way that it's been interpreted, is you can have a path, period. But it's my contention, and I think others, that if you already have a path, if you already made the impact, putting a bench on that path, or a potted plant, or a barbecue, or something else would not further impact the Bayshore Protection Zone. So that's really the crux of that addition. Moving down into subsection B, you'll see under the actual, I apologize. This is relating, there's two Bayshore protection zones. One specifically for the bay, others for other water bodies. And then there's actually two types of buffer, the full 50 and then the reduced buffer. So just for clarity, a little bit of context. The additional changes under subsection B speak specifically to the Bayshore Protection Zone. The bulk of this change, again, is the inclusion of fences here, right? So fences will now be allowed on property lines or as close to property lines as possible where no fill is required. So someone can't go out there, put a bunch of fill down, and then put a fence on top of that fill. It needs to remain in its most natural state as possible. The fence that will be allowed, again, should be located on property lines or as close, as humanly possible. The idea being that if there's a big oak tree down the property line, we wouldn't expect or want a property owner to cut the tree down to put a fence there. So we would allow for some meandering there. Additionally, the fence has to be installed with minimal disturbance. I know that's not quite as explicit as we would all like it to be. There's some flexibility there, but I mean, if someone goes out and clears a 10-foot swath of the Bayshore Protection Zones for a fence, that would be considered a violation. Nobody would need to clear 10 feet to do that.
Not to cut you off, just to question real quick.
Yes.
That's intended for side lot lines, not the rear lot along shore parallel?
Both lines. You can fence in your entirety within, for safety reasons and others. That is
From getting eaten by a gator.
Yeah.
right. Dogs. We look. There's a history of real issues as it relates to the Bayshore Protection Zone for property owners and abutting owners, folks with dogs, folks that don't like dogs, et cetera. Right. We hear a constant cry from folks that have issues in this zone, and neighbors that have issues with those folks. So it needed some clarity. It needed some cleaning up. It needed a little bit of flexibility, and really it needed to allow folks to fence in their properties. I mean, that is the bottom line. While we allow that, we do limit it. You can't have over a 4-foot high fence. There has to be, you can't exceed a 65% opacity. And that's really to preserve view sheds from your neighbors, right? If you go out there and drop an 8-foot tall privacy fence, it's going to potentially impact someone's view. So we're hoping to preserve that in some respects.
I just have a question about the 4 feet. And this is not necessarily related to Bay Shore, I guess, but like swimming pools and enclosures have to have a 54-inch?
You have to have a 4-foot tall.
It's 48, yeah.
Oh, it's
for state.
48? I thought it was 54. Oh, thank you, fence guy. No, thanks, Eli. All right, thank you.
And then the last change here is just the same language for temporary structures and open-air structures can be allowed in the buffer within the previously allowed 25% encroachment there, so, or impact area. So that's the extent of the changes. I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Schoen? I have none.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on these land development code text amendments? I didn't think so, but I had to ask. All right, we'll close public comment. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all those signify in favor by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Next is quasi judicial, so Matt, you have to swear. Oh, okay. Matt has to swear. Mm-hmm.
She's here.
So Stephen gonna be sworn? All right. Any staff, applicants, or member of the public that wish to provide testimony, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Chair of the people who are intending to speak have been sworn.
Thank you very much. Tim Brown, I guess you get to come to the podium and tell us all about this.
Yes, good evening. Tim Brown with Planning and Development. As promised from the last meeting, Hotel Rain is moving forward. Let me read the blurb. This is a major development order application submitted by Neil Carroll Engineering requesting approval to add a parcel to the 30 Avenue development, construct a 78-unit hotel with a parking garage and associated infrastructure on 3.34 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. Property is located in District 5, basically at the corner of 38 and Highway 98 and Inlet Beach. So let me begin by saying the biggest thing that's held this thing up is the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan. So they have amended that and they've fixed that issue in two ways. One is they removed the 30 Avenue project from the plan. So it no longer includes these properties. And they fixed the other part by saying you can only have a bed and breakfast not to exceed 10 rooms, which is what the community wanted to begin with. So that has all been approved, that has all been fixed. Now, I know there's people that don't want this to move forward at all, but by removing it from the Inlet Beach plan, the only thing that it's restricted to now is VMU, and VMU allows limited lodging up to 125 rooms. So with that, I did hand out 4 emails that we received this week. So may I enter the staff report along with those emails into the record, please?
So entered.
And I'll entertain any questions. There is one error in the staff report. It says it says 4 stories, but the parking garage is 4 levels. So it's 3 stories, but it has 4 parking levels. But 40 feet is right, which they were in agreement with the neighborhood plan. The neighborhood plan requires nothing above 40 feet. So technically, they could go more now since they're outside of the neighborhood plan. But, you know, we're so far down the road with this project that they're not going to make that change at this point.
Right.
So the information that we have doesn't agree with what you just said.
No,
What we
it-
have says 78.
No, it's talking about, it says 40 feet and 4 stories.
Oh, I understand that.
He said that if the village mixed use zoning category allows up to 125 limited lodging, but this is only requesting 78.
Yeah, this is a boutique
Boutique hotel.
hotel.
I thought you said it was now reduced to 10 rooms instead.
No, that was if it was
Yeah.
within the neighborhood plan, but
They-
it's been removed from the neighborhood
They
plan.
amended there was an error in the plan, right? It was referencing, the neighborhood plan was referencing something in the land development code that wasn't there. So it needed a fix. And the way initially the county attorney wanted to fix it was the exact opposite of what the community wanted. So they came up with an alternative, which was to take the 30 Avenue project out of the plan, so that would allow this to move forward. And it allowed, once they did the bed and breakfast not to exceed 10 rooms, now there can be no other hotels in Inlet Beach. This is the only opportunity for a hotel. Anything moving forward can only be a bed and breakfast not to exceed 10 rooms. But this is a boutique hotel. They can have up to 125. They're asking for 78 rooms.
Okay, but what is being proposed is 78.
Correct.
Any other questions for staff?
Oh, and I do want to mention that they are buying out 0.1 acres of preservation as part of this, which they are allowed to do. But I just want to put it out there that they will be buying that out.
What does that amount to in percentage?
Uh,
Under 25?
Oh, way under, because it's.
Yeah, it's probably, it's going to be under 25, yes. They even have a little bit left.
Yeah, because it's 3 acres.
Because they were, if I'm remembering correctly, they have 0.45 acres remaining that they could buy out. They're buying out 0.1 acres.
So under mixed-use zoning, you have to have a residence portion. What is that?
Well, not in this case because it's an existing development.
You know what?
It's an existing development. If it was a brand-new development, that would apply.
Okay,
But it's existing.
gotcha.
And I think this is the last available property in 30 Avenue. I'm not sure they can put anything else in there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they're taking some lots out, some single-family lots to build this, so there will be less residential, but more commercial.
Right, any other questions for Mr. Brown? No. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, Robert Carroll, Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering. We are the engineer of record. I have been sworn in. Good evening. Long time coming to get here. We started this a long time ago. We are proposing a 78-room hotel. Tim kind of tells you the whole story, kind of have to figure out what left to say. It will contain a restaurant inside there. If you've ever been to 30 Avenue, this is in the back portion of the corner, kind of in that northwest corner. Brought in overall, so you can kind of see, this is all of 30 Avenue here. This is 98. This is the residential neighborhood. All of this is in preservation, and we're going in this back corner here. There was like, I believe, an 8-lot residential subdivision that was platted here. That there were houses there. They actually moved them away, put them on a trailer, and drove them down the road. So those were existing here. Because this is now considered our new project, this is kind of the front, even though originally this was the rear. So we're still abiding by a rear setback. A side would be 15, but the hotel's about 23 feet. The parking garage is going to be behind all the preservation. It's probably 74, 75 feet off of here. All that vegetation will stay, and the buyout is right here in this little corner. But we will fully landscape everything there. Pretty much cleared. They built the subdivision when it was there originally. And you've got in your packet, that's kind of showing you the development. There's existing parking that's in here. When we originally did all of 30 Avenue, all that was on-grade parking, we're taking that out, replacing it with a deck. It is 3 stories, 4 levels. You can park on the roof. Pretty straightforward. All the stormwater for the entire facility is all exfiltration. It's all underground. We have gone to water management and received our updated water management permit, so we do fully comply. Overall, as 30 Avenue, we wanted to make sure by taking away parking, adding the garage, that we're not going to hurt the development. We don't want to be underparked. Overall, we need about 545 spaces. We're just under 600, so we still meet the development criteria and provide excess parking.
So how many parking spaces are you taking out? Do you know?
Yes, so the hotel needs 111, 30 Avenue needs 434, requirement is 545, and we're at 598. Overall, we will be overparked.
Right, but you said you're taking some out to put in the garage. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a lot of parking that you're removing.
So 109 spaces will come out as surface and
Okay.
being replaced with the garage.
That's my question. Thank you.
We've been to DRB, we got approval there, we've been to TRC, so now we're just trying to move forward with the project. The architect is here, he can tell you how great and fabulous and beautiful the building is and all the frou-frou stuff. We are limited to the site itself, but if you want to hear a little bit about the buildings or the site, I'll be glad to give you some more of that. If not, we won't bore you, I know the night is getting long, so.
So,
I'd like
thi-
to-
yeah, this,
I want to see it, sorry.
Yeah, so the parcel is being added, the original development, when Mr. Core purchased all this, he purchased a subdivision. There was a little triangle that was left, and that's the piece that we're adding just as it all a whole. Would you like to hear a little about the hotel itself and the rooms and?
so this is a boutique hotel.
Yes, sir.
That's a independently owned hotel, or
Yes, sir.
not a Holiday Inn Express or something like that?
That is correct.
Have renderings?
Hotel Rain is their name.
Bring renderings?
Should be in the packets that we provided. He's got 11 by 17s here. I did not print those out, I apologize.
Hello, I'm Travis Altsman here for Dale Partners Architects. Altsman is Altsman, and I'm the design architect for Hotel Rain, Rosemary Beach. Like Robert said, we've been through DRB and TRC, so there's been quite a lot of comment on the design from several different bodies. I'm sorry, do y'all have any more of the renderings from the packet? If not, I can pass this around. That's the best I
You
can
just
do.
hold
But-
it up.
But I do think that it's kind of small. I think you can divide it in. That front rendering is actually looking at an internal courtyard. Yes, ma'am. So the layout is essentially internal. It's going to have a small restaurant inside the hotel itself, and every room has its own pool or hot tub that faces into a larger, very ornately designed courtyard, pretty lavishly landscaped. Of course, on the outside, we stick to using local vegetation and planting to be in keeping with the overall Walton County Inlet, well, at the time, Inlet Beach requirements. The inside is a little more tropical, but that's concealed for the most part from view from the street side because as currently designed, the building is sunken down into the ground, where that courtyard has a screening wall around it. We did that specifically to keep the overall impression of the building lower, less intrusive. We, recognized there was a lot of concern about putting, like I think you had indicated, some giant 5-story, typical
Holiday
roadside
Express, yeah.
hotel. Yeah, and that's not what we want to do at all. 78 rooms, each one of them is very high-end. I hope to be able to go there one day.
All right, any more questions for Mr. Altman or Mr. Carroll? All right, we'll open it up for public comment. We'll get you your plans back here in a minute.
Well, I got one question though. The size of the rooms, they, in square footage, what, you got an average size or?
I think they're about 400 square feet. We have 3 different types. We're going to have, it's mainly geared toward couples, So you're talking about king size with its own sort of living room. The very back page, if you get a chance to get it, you'll see each of the options. But they're, so there's a little living room, but a little living room side, a very generous bathroom with a giant shower or a tub, depending on the option, and then a king size bed, and it's pretty high end, and each one has its own balcony.
I had one. How big is the restaurant? How many square feet?
So that front of house area is not entirely designed, but right now we have about 2,400 square feet. So it's a kind of a small restaurant, yeah.
And what did you say there was a bar, or did I make that up?
You made that
They'll-
up.
Okay. Darn.
I'm sure there will be a bar component, but it's not a bar only, it's a restaurant.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this topic, please come to the microphone. All right, seeing no one at the microphone, we'll close the public comment. Any other questions, or we can I'd entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any more discussion on this? All right, those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Huh? Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Yeah. We are gonna come back here according to that clock at
in the meetings. I gotta pay better attention to what she's doing.
You did fine. Oh. It is 5:40. Right. All right. Break time's over. We will move on to item number 9. And that's, oh, Ms. Reed, and she's out there.
I'll take the opportunity. Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. I will be abstaining from voting as I'm the presenter for this next amendment, land use amendment. Sorry, zoning.
Ms. Reed, would you like to present item number 9? I'm sorry to,
No, my apologies. Item number 9, RAIM rezoning. This is a request to approve by ordinance project number REZ 26000001. This is a rezoning application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates Engineering, LLC, on behalf of Michael Rame, requesting to change the zoning district from conservation residential 1 to 2.5 to conservation residential 2 to 1. The site has a future land use category of conservation, residential on approximately 9.76 plus or minus acres. The property is in District 4 and located on the east side of Don Bishop Road at the end of Mark Road and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report and public comments and everything that I discussed and mentioned today into the record?
yes, so entered.
Thank you. So let's see. So I don't really have any other comments for this one besides the fact that the density and intensity may increase on this site as a result of the rezoning. There is expected to be a de minimis impact regarding traffic, according to engineering. And given the conservation residential zoning, there will be special development standards regarding open space. So with that being said, I don't have any other comments for this one, but do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Ms. Reed? Is your microphone on?
Is the creation of new lots allowed within the Limois?
So my understanding with the Limois line is that you need to prove that there is buildable area or density available landward or north of that Limois line is how that's applied. So if you can prove that there's buildable density, then you would be able to move forward building on a lot. But if you're not able to prove that, then you have to think about the other issues that you need to consider as a developer.
Okay, let's hear from the applicant's appointee.
Good evening, Dean Burgess with ECAE LLC. I'm the engineer of record and will be presenting on this zoning amendment before you tonight. As Ayanna said, this is just a zoning. The land use category will remain conservation residential. And really this is the next rung on the ladder as far as conservation residential. They have the 1 to 2.5, then it goes to 2 to 1. If they had a 1 unit per acre, we probably would have sought that, but it's not available. So, and the reason I say that is I know that a lot of the concerns of the public, my neighbors, has to do with the density. It's a 9-acre property. It's located on the north end of Don Bishop Road, just off of Laurie Street. And it's a five-fold increase in density, and I understand that. And if it was all uplands, yeah, we could go from 3 lots to 18 lots. But I'll outline how I don't anticipate that we will be able to exceed 6 lots on the property. And I'd like to go over some of the opportunities on the land as it sits right now. You could build a single house on the 9 acres. You could do a lot split, build 2 homes on the property. Or you could do a 3-lot subdivision. And the first two, the one house or a lot split, what comes along with that is stormwater on each of the lots. There's not a centralized stormwater. There's not an HOA that would be formed. You're only required to meet the 10-year storm in either of those scenarios versus the 25-year storm and all of the storage criteria. So those options from an environmental standpoint, and I understand people's concerns with protecting the environment in this area. It does have a lot of wetlands. It's predominantly it is in a flood zone, several flood zones. But those options, I think, would also offer the landowners the opportunity to place their home pretty much anywhere on the property that they wanted to. If you go to a 3-lot subdivision, you would have that would trigger a development order where you would have a centralized stormwater system required. You would be required to cluster out of the LIMWA. But the issue I see with a 3-lot subdivision is we've got a lot of 3 and 4 lot subdivision or unit townhomes that struggle to keep their HOA active. You're required to have a minimum of 3 officers in an HOA, and with 3 lot owners, everybody would have to be willing to participate. Having the finances to keep up the common areas, and there's about 300 to 400 feet of road that would have to be put in to access the lots. Maintaining that private road, it gets to be a problem with only 3 lot owners and contributors to the HOA. So I looked at, in discussing this with the owner, Mr. Rame, this has been in his family since before the comprehensive plan. What are the options? And if we went to the next zoning capacity above this, I do think we will be self-limited to six lots. The reason being is the LIMWA that Tanner brought up. And that is, this is difficult and I can approach if y'all can't see it. It's right down in the southeast corner of the property is the area that is out of the LIMWA. Everything seaward or to the bayside to the north from there is in the LIMWA. So we would have to, this is roughly 1.2 acres, and we would want to locate our development within that 1.2 acres. And with a road, and I think we could get either 3 duplexes. It'd be awful tight to get 6 single-family lots in there, but I think at a maximum we could get 6 units in there. That would also assure and tie up the remaining area would be held in common area, just like the conservation residential category requires. And a lot of the neighbors are concerned with seeing that preserved because there actually is like a little creek that runs through the property. One of the other comments and questions that may come from the board or the neighbors is, well, conservation residential 1 to 2.5 requires 80% preservation or of conservation land, and 2 to 1 only is 60. With the development being clustered in that 1.2 acres, we would be able to maintain either over 80% of the property in conservation area. So I don't think that, the initial concern out of most, if not all of the neighbors was, take 9 acres, multiply it by 2, there's going to be up to 18 homes in there, and that simply would not be the case. And if the board saw fit, we would be willing to put that in a LURA if the board saw fit. Any other questions that I could entertain?
Any questions for Dean, for Mr. Burgess? I had a couple. What were mine? I realize where the Limwa delineation is, but is there a delineated wetland amount on this property?
There's wetlands, and I didn't bring the survey, it should be in your packet, but,
Yeah, I saw it in the packet, but there was a portion where it stated the acreage, and then there was a portion on the map, and they looked different. That's why I'm asking.
on the map, you mean the GIS map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that that's not 100% accurate.
Yeah,
but-
we had, our environmental scientists
Like
went out
this one.
and flagged.
Oh, you can't see it.
Basically, the whole site being wetlands.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, there's, running through the central eastern portion of the property is a wetland, and then there's a chunk of wetlands up here in the north west corner. So there's upland here. This Limwa area is all upland, or out of the Limwa area. Yes.
My other question is, how did they have access to the site?
Laurie Road dead ends and actually extends into this parcel. So we would take Laurie Road, travel north, and then west into the property and to the development area.
Is that a paved road?
It is, it's like crushed asphalt. There's one house down here at the end. And I wouldn't say it's paved, but it's
So it's not gonna
improved.
change. It'll be that way. You're not proposing to change anything.
Right now, we're not proposing to. It depends on, the development that we put in and.
And would that be county road or county responsibility or the,
It's
property
a
owner?
public easement and it's a public access.
yeah, so it's,
All of Laurie Road is public. So yeah, if we wanted to improve it, we'd have to go through, Public Works. And depending on the development, if they wanted to do, they may just want to do pavers inside of the proposed development. If they wanted to pave Laurie, they'd have to work out an agreement with Public Works, probably for a maintenance agreement.
that gets pretty tough because you gotta have minimum widths and
Right. Yeah, and Public Works always reserves the right, if they don't like the pavers for some reason, or they need to tear it up, that they'll put it back as asphalt.
So what do they want to do? What do they want to do?
5 to 7 lots. When Mr. Rame came to me, he said if I could get 5 to 7 lots, I'd be satisfied.
And right now, he could do 3, the way it is.
Right now, he
zoned.
could do 3. Yeah.
I'm just concerned that our code calls for limiting development in low-lying floodplains. And so the present density allowed on the parcel, I think, is appropriate due to the fact that it is in a low-lying floodplain, and increasing the density is actually frowned upon in flood zones, according to our code. So I'm a little concerned. I'm not a big proponent of rezoning just in the first place. I feel if we were going to rezone something, it has to have a benefit to Walton County and benefit to the area residents. And, I hear you, what you're saying, the way they have it now, they aren't required to attenuate stormwater more than a 10-year storm. A bigger development would do that, but I think it could potentially negatively impact the stormwater. And I do know an engineered solution, I get all that. But it comes back down to the fact that it's in a floodplain, and our own code says that they want to limit density, and so by changing the density allowable seems counterintuitive to what we want, so.
Well, and again, what it says is that increasing density in a floodplain is discouraged. And the idea is would like to see when this gets developed is that it's not done in the LIMWA, and a controlled development through a development order would facilitate that. And I also look at the viability of the subdivision. With a 3-lot subdivision, you really run a risk of, in 2 years, you don't have a homeowners association. Everybody's kind of doing their thing, and it's not, a maintained, kept-up development. And they don't have the means to maintain the stormwater system, the roads, and with a slight increase in density, I think it would also have the funding to do a higher order subdivision, pave a road, better looking houses, better
Could be
architecture.
done as one-offs, so could they not? I mean, why does it have to be an HOA with 3? I mean, they could be each
Because we'll
individual.
have a central stormwater system, we're required to have an HOA, and it has to be maintained by an HOA.
Okay.
And I remember asking Matt Carpenter, is where I came from. We had little developments popping up all over the place that would have an HOA that would maintain the roads and the streets, the sidewalks and the stormwater, et cetera. And I said, what happens if the HOA goes under? He goes, well, they're required to have one. I go, well, that didn't answer the question. And we actually had a set aside. We were required an SSA, not a small scale amendment, but it was a set aside that they paid into, that at some point, if they failed to maintain that, then the county or the city had the funds to be able to maintain it. It didn't fall back on the county for that, so.
So Dan, you said the possibility to have duplexes there?
Yes.
3, so in other words, that would be rentals.
No. And what I'm thinking of is if you've been to Frangista Beach, those type of duplexes that they have there, I'm just thinking if, in order to get to 6 units, could either do 6 single-family homes, 3 duplexes, is doable in that area, in that 1.2 acres of,
And if you
out
put
of the LIMWA.
6 single-family homes, they'd be very small.
The lots would be very small, and I think you'd have a hard time, getting there. You might get 4.
And then they're just on the edge of 4 without the change, which is
Right.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, we looked at, just going to low-density residential, 4-to-1, or even 2-to-1. But that would require a land use change and zoning change, because we'd have to change from conservation residential to residential, and we wanted to avoid that.
Any other questions for Mr. Burgess? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you.
If you want to speak on this, come to the microphone, state your name and spell your last name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Amy Neslaw, Neslaw. Nervous and I'm a little cold. I'm sorry.
Freezing in here.
I live off of Don Bishop Road on Louis Road. I call it Lane because Louis and Lori and the next street that's proposed are sand and gravel and grass.
Could you pull your microphone down a little bit?
They don't really resemble roads as far as a cosmopolitan area would be considered. But the reason that I'm here is that it was the density, and so I thank you for describing what it would be. However, there's 4 concerns that we have, but the one that is really going to cause the most problems is that Don Bishop Road only has one way in and one way out, and all of us already are there. And it's not that all the other things that we're concerned about aren't important as well. However, when you get to 98 and Don Bishop, it's already a very difficult intersection. And so now there's already being built at that corner behind Otto's a car wash. I'm sorry, a condo complex. So there'll be more people there. But coming down past Woodlands Bayou, that's the section where you're heading north toward the bay. And that's already kind of a slower 25 mile an hour area. And it is also very, very rural and very natural. There's a nesting pair of bald eagles there, deer and children playing and that kind of thing. I think my concern, and my partner who owns the house with me, is that even if it were 6 homes there, and it did seem to me that that was going to allow short-term rental. So if I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but it seemed like that was going to be allowed. That is out of character with what that area is, and it would add some traffic to that stretch where basically it's just deer, and sometimes there's kayak launch at the end, deer and people going to the kayak launch, which, by the way, those folks go very quickly down and very quickly back. There's no turnaround or anything like that. So it's already very, very constrained, if you will. And then there is no city utility from Roberts Road, the one next to us, all the way to the bay. We had to put in a well and septic. So, that would all have to be developed in order for that to be developed as well. So I think that those are the major concerns, and, the impact basically on us having all the extra people passing back and forth and that type of thing.
All right, thank you.
I did, since I had some time sitting there, find an inconsistency. The paperwork I received and the notes, I'm sorry about that, but say 9.76 plus or minus, and the survey says 9.26 plus or minus, so I don't know if that matters at all. The survey parcel says 9.26 acres, and the notes in the letter I received say 9.76. I don't know if that matters, but I was sitting there reading anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this project? Come to the microphone, state your name, and spell your last name.
My name's Tammy Tolbert, Tolbert, and I live at Woodland Bayou. And as far as keeping the HOA around, we don't even have an HOA with 70 lots. There are HOA, we can't keep it, no one will show up, or we can't get a quorum for our restrictive covenants. But I'm very familiar with this piece of property. I've ridden my horse on it. I'm from here, and it's 3 or 4 feet underwater at all times, all the time. And I just really don't even see how they could even ask to change the zoning, because it's I don't even know how much fill dirt it would take. It's underwater, and the road is a little dirt road that's at the end of the pavement from Don Bishop, and I have 3 lots there across the way. One is, I don't know if the picture's up, but one's directly across lot 16. It's 3.2 acres on the water, on the Musset Bayou. So next to that, I own lot 15, which is 1.1 acres. Now, these are estate-sized lots, and the whole neighborhood is in 2 and 3 acre lots. And then we're going to cram apartments down at the end of the road, and that's just not conducive to what I wanted to build my dream home next to. And I've owned the lot, one of them since 1986, and I live on lot 5. So I have 3 lots right there, each 2 to 3 acres. So I'm a little bit concerned about the traffic. I risk my life every time I pull out of that drive. You can't take a left. You have to just go ahead and take a right and then do a U-turn. I've decided that's what I have to do. And I heard we couldn't get a traffic light unless we had 5 fatalities. And I heard we have 2, so we have 3 more to go. Maybe we get a traffic light. But people from all the apartments already at the south end walk all the way down to the water by our estates because they were not gated. And so we've got all the traffic of the baby carriages, the bicycles, the skateboarders, the dogs, the cats, everything, and the neighbors. And now, at the other end, this is what their recreation is going to be, walking down our estate-sized lots. And it's just really not convenient, compatible, and I really feel like the land is way too low to do whatever to rezone. And the reason you rezone is if it's something compatible or better for the county. This is not good for the county to rezone a piece of land that's underwater and let them just do what they have the land to do, what it's already zoned in the comprehensive plan that's already in place. That they did lots of studies. They didn't just throw a plan out there And I'm sorry I'm shaking. I don't ever talk in front of people, and the last thing I'd rather be here is be here right now. But this is what I truly believe that it's going to ruin that lot, and it's going to ruin our neighborhood, and we don't want that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak on this?
Hi there, I'm Sarah Hill, and I live on Don Bishop Road, and Hill is how you spell my name. I forgot all my notes, so just off the top of my head, while I was sitting there, I wrote down whatever I could think of. I did write a letter, which I'm sure all of you got, and hopefully you read. But there are so many reasons why this rezoning should not be allowed or even considered. It's nearly illegal. If it isn't illegal, it should be illegal. The least of which is that Eglin discourages adding or increasing the allowed density because it's in their flight path. And I know I'm also on Don Bishop, so I'm on their flight path also. Not to mention the airport's flight path. Almost half of this, if I remember my notes, and if I'm in error, please correct me, but almost half of it is wetlands. It should not be filled or altered in any way. The Conservation Land Use Code is particularly protective of waterfront properties. Stormwater runoff would go directly into the bay. Lawn chemicals, what have you, everything that everybody puts on their lawn or garbage that they put in their yard or whatever can go into the bay. The seafood right now that comes out of the bay is already corrupted and very high in chemicals. Terry Talbert, Tammy's sister, told me what those chemicals are, but I can't remember them. Anyway, she says that bay seafood is so bad that the vendors won't even handle it anymore. And that's a terrible thing. Crap, I can't read my handwriting. It very likely could affect insurance rates, flood insurance rates. If the zoning change were to be approved, the lots and houses allowed could be increased fivefold. Dr. Rame knew what he was getting when he bought that property, and I can only assume that he's hoping to make a profit on it, knowing that it is a highly desirable piece of property. But I have 4.5 acres on Doogie Bowser Lane, which is off of Don Bishop Road, and I have one house on that property, one barn, a couple of little sheds, and that's all I ever plan to put on it. We graze deer on it and nearby. It already, the traffic situation will be negatively impacted. It's already bumper to bumper at certain times of day, year round between 331 and Sandestin. Oh, crap. Sorry.
3 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? State your name and spell your last name.
I'm Austin Baeza, last name's Baeza. I'm his realtor, and so that's kind of how I know him. But just wanted to discuss kind of where this came about. You know, like you had mentioned, we were very close to having 4 homes there. So 3 just seemed like, okay, we've got to bring water and sewer from Roberts Road down through there, down that road, probably pave the road, and then bring it down and do a lot of infrastructure. And doing that with just 3 homes seemed to be kind of a hard thing to run through. So that's how we came to seeing if we could maybe just do 5 homes to make it make a little bit more sense, which led to, I guess, 19 was the next available conservation. I think my client would even be interested in seeing if there's a way to restrict that to only allowing something like 5 homes. It's not a matter of building a crazy amount of homes down there. I live on Goldsby, which is a couple roads down, and we actually do have apartments at the end of our roads, and a lot more houses than this road does on Don Bishop, and it is kind of crazy sometimes when people are not following the rules, so I definitely see that. But we do have about a little bit over 6 acres of uplands, to answer your question from earlier, based on our survey and whatnot. Our goal would be to figure out how we can maybe do 4 or 5 homes. After talking, really 6 or 7 even seems to be a push. And just finding if there's any way that we could fit that, having an extra 4 or 5 people down there, I don't think is going to affect. But I do think that having water and sewer brought further down the road could maybe assist with a large amount of lots that are coming on those roads south and north of us that haven't been built on yet. And that is one way that maybe it could assist the county.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll close public comment period. Mr. Burgess, do you have final comments?
Just some quick responses and final comments. I just wanted to piggyback on what Austin was just saying, that, you know, I live right across from Roberts Road, and I know there, in my yard there is where the force main ends. So we would have to pick up on the force main and run it all the way, you know, down to Lori Lane. And, you know, that infrastructure is costly, and, you know, developments, there is a break-even point that everybody looks at. And what Austin was driving home is for 3 lots, you're between extending the force main, extending and probably paving the road to do the type homes that we'd want to do back there. We'd want to be on a paved road, at least Lori. There's a finite cost associated with that, and with even 3 lots, I just don't know that we'd be able to get there or it be viable for anybody, really. There is an advantage to us developing the property, and if we did bring the force main down there, septic tanks on, I don't know if you noted the little 6-lot subdivisions that are all along the side of the road here. Most of this has not yet been developed. Just in the past 5 years, they've started putting homes on the lots. But Amy was correct. Most of them north of Roberts are on either well and septic or a septic tank. If we ran the force main up to this property, everybody would gain the benefit of hooking onto that force main. So I just kind of wanted the board to be able to consider all the moving pieces associated with this, and I think we could help with some of the issues in the area.
Okay, any questions?
Last two with regard to.
Oh, go ahead.
Eglin Air Force Base and the military operation, their statement is actually that they think that density shouldn't be higher than 2 units per acre, which is what we're asking for. Wetland fill, understanding that we're going to be designing in the non-LIMWA area, there'd be a minor wetland crossing that, whether it's a single home duplex or lot split or 3-lot subdivision, the same entry would have to be put in. So the same wetland impacts would have to occur. We don't anticipate having more than that. And the lot being underwater, she's absolutely right. There is that little slough that runs through the property, and it's underwater. Fortunately, the out of LIMWA area is beyond that, and it's out of the water. So any other questions, I'd be happy to respond to.
Questions? It's on.
Did you consider doing a LURA for this at all?
We have. Actually, during my presentation, I offered up that we would be willing to put this, codify it in Allura.
My instinct is just so no on this, but also I want to see if there's a compromise. So I don't know, what do y'all think? Is there a way to give them one more house and say it has to be 4? I don't know. This is just so hard.
Well, I will say, increasing density in the floodplain, that's I would totally against that. No offense to Dean here.
But what if they were 4 single-family homes and not duplexes? And you are running sewer and getting all those homes off of septic, which is also a really horrific thing to have in wetlands and in floodplains. I think there's a benefit
And
to that.
And the housing, the residences in that neighborhood, in that area, those are estate-sized lots. You're talking about putting 3 or 4 single-family homes on a, basically 4 acres, because the rest of it you can't build on.
1 acre.
One.
1 acre.
On 1 acre. Okay.
But they could
so-
also do 3 duplexes on there too. So
and
that
what
could be
kinda-
6
what kinda-
units.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just, those are just the options. I just am trying to, I don't want to, but I understand.
How is this better for the county to rezone? That's the question. That's what we usually ask. Does this
And
improve the county?
I would say it improves the neighbors on that street and the fact that you get a lot of houses off sewer. That's it.
One of these say no.
I
So
get
that's
it.
the neighbors in
And-
the area.
Well, and I have to say, getting off the septic does not come at no cost. So in order for them to tie into the sewer, there's going to be a substantial financial.
To the developer or to
No,
the
to the individual
independent peoples?
homeowners.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So there's no incentive for them to tie in.
true.
I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, because I've done this before
No,
in other
I'm
developments.
incredibly conflicted.
I do agree, like, even if it's there is no guarantee that those homeowners
hook up.
will pay to hook up unless somebody makes
Well,
them.
if it's within 1,000 feet of you, DEP requires that you connect.
And then we're also making a decision for them.
So
too,
now
and they may
we-
not have
they're
the-
gonna
they
be forced
required,
to
but they-
connect?
Forced, and then they may not have
The way
the
it
money.
works is
Yeah.
whenever your septic tank is
Yeah.
beyond a certain
Right.
level of service,
If it has, I mean.
Oh, got it.
then you have to
Yeah,
connect
got it.
Required, yeah.
Right. So I mean, which they all do fail eventually.
eventually.
Yeah.
And I didn't think you could actually, of course, we're not talking about building septic tanks on this,
No.
but that close to the bay, I don't think you could even build a septic tank anymore.
Nowadays, probably not.
It would be real difficult, but if somebody built a single-family home or even the lot split avenue,
Right.
they would be able to, as a development
They can.
subdivision, we would be required to put in, the sewer.
So, does anybody want to make a motion?
I move to deny.
Oh, yeah.
Any more discussion about this? Okay, all those,
Maybe I should have a moment to speak here, since I'm the
Um,
owner of this.
okay,
I'm Michael Rame, R-A-I-M. I've owned this property nearly 40 years. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain and do maintenance this place. I've owned that. I used to mow it, I used to clean up. It used to be a lodgepole pine till a garbage man decided to burn 4,000 acres in 1984, 83. He took out 4,400 acres, all of the lodgepole pines. I had when I purchased it in 1985, we had probably about 100 on there. Well, they were damaged enough by that, it became a problem. And I did everything. We mowed it, we did things, we planted things, we kept everything clear. We used to be able to enter from Roberts Rose and go back in there because there is an access with 4 or 5 culverts, and I had an access at the corner of the southwest end of my property. I could get in there. I did not ever clean it or mow it. I just drove over it because I didn't want people. I've had people with hunting stands. You talk about your deer. People come in there. I've never seen so many deer in this south part of Florida as I have in this area. As far as just one other comment about everything, I'm a commercial instrument pilot. And the flight plan over that area is over 5,000 feet, So I don't think an aircraft has any condolences to what happens to it. And the fact is that if we went to 5 or 6, because we had talked 7 to 5 in that range for homes, the possibility, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring in water and sewer alone to me. And to do, I have a small little 67-foot by 25-foot piece I've got to do across that little tiny stream, which is just a trickle. It is only about 67 feet by 25 that I would put what I would call the most expensive building you can, is box culverts over it to go across the little water. The water width is not from me to you. It's halfway between us. That's how wide the water is. I've been there on 2 or 3 hurricanes right after. I've been before and right after. The land in that middle area is about 4.5, it down towards the water. At the water's edge, it's actually 5 or 6 feet above the ground, above the land. And back in there, a lot of it's 5.5, 6 feet above the mean water line. And what I'm going to tell you, I think that's why it got excluded, but, that particular property has been, I've been on there right after it, within 12 hours, and there's not any water in there. I had to walk through thigh-deep water through that little stream, but as soon as it comes to it, it's 4 foot straight up, and that's the reason why those are pine trees there. Right where we would put the road through there are a few cypress and a few lodgepole pines left, the only ones I have on the property, because they didn't burn, because of that little stream. And what I'm just saying, I had a couple of friends that wanted the property as a single-family, unit, and I didn't sell it to either one of them because I thought, the two of them were kind of fighting over it. As it turned out, they decided 12 miles was too far from Destin. I said, I think it's just far enough, to be honest with you. And you talk about impacted traffic, and you're talking about something being a problem in there. So what is 3 or 4 more cars or people that are living in there from what you have right now? I go down there, and I've seen some of the most horrendous drivers coming at me when I'm going down by Bishop Road, and I go out there quite a bit. I'm out there probably, I'd say 6 to 8 times a month just to go down and check on it. And I'm going to tell you that it's going to be developed one way or another. If it's 3 lots, it's going to be 3 lots. It's going to be done sooner or later. I would much rather have a little bit of profit in it. I even thought about building my permanent home there. I've got the wherewithal. I have the assets to do it. I do it for, I don't have to borrow money. I have enough. I can do anything I want. So what I am going to do is I'm going to make it profitable, and my friends and I are going to enjoy it, or somebody will come along and want that big one. So, if it's a denial for that small of a difference, I'm a little surprised by, that. I can understand it, but, some of the reasoning is just not what I think, would benefit. And as I said, I've paid, you go back and look at the records, how many years I've paid taxes on and other things and improvements that I've done. So, I just wanted to let you know that, it's fine. I'll keep the property, or I'll find the right person that wants that big mansion, the 10,000, 8,000, and he'll have plenty of land. There's really 7 or 8 acres in here that are fully dry all the time.
Yeah, but there's only 1.26 acres that's buildable.
But that one, nobody builds a 40,000 square foot house. That's 1 acre.
Oh.
So, you put that in your thought process and then you understand it. There's a lot of houses around here that are as small as 6,000 acres, and they're fabulous. And they still got another 38,000 of surrounding land around that that 1-story house. So, I'm just trying to be number-wise, consistent. As I say, you do what you think you have to do. I'm here to say that I've invested a lot. You get 3 to 5 or 6 really nice homes, there's your tax base. You will pentuple, maybe even 10 times your income to the county itself. And God knows they collect a lot of the money. Some of my friends are paying way more. I pay a lot. I pay $80,000 a year in property taxes throughout Florida. So, you know, it's the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion.
You have a motion on the floor.
Right.
You never had a second that I know of.
Yeah, we had a second.
Oh, we did?
Tanner
Yeah,
made the
Tanner
motion.
seconded it. Yes.
Okay.
Seconded?
Jim made the motion.
Jim made the motion,
Oh.
Tanner seconded it.
Oh, okay, got it, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
All
Oh, that's
right.
right.
I'll just call for the vote. All those in favor of denying the requests signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 6-0 with a recusal. All right, that moves us to our last item, item number 10. And this is, again, the Ms. Ayanna Reed show.
Last item, Lindholm rezoning. This is a request to approve by ordinance project number REZ 26000002. This is a rezoning application submitted by Daryl Barnhill on behalf of the Lindholm Family Revocable Living Trust, requesting to change the zoning district from residential preservation to neighborhood infill. The site has a future land use category of residential on approximately 0.43 plus or minus acres. The property's in District 4 at 136 Ellis Road and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May enter the staff report and any, I don't believe I have any public comments for this one.
No, we didn't
No,
get
for
any.
item 10? No, okay. So just the staff report into the record, please.
So entered.
So I will say that the future intent of this project is simply to do a family lot split. Do you have any questions for me?
Why don't they just do a lot split?
Well, it's a little complicated.
All right, enlighten us.
So it's interesting. So the property is zoned currently as residential preservation, whereas we have a special development standard for residential preservation lots where it's 1 unit per platted lot. Now, according to our code, we cannot allow lot splits for a platted lot in residential preservation. So this lot was unplatted. Therefore, because it was unplatted, it did not have density assigned to it. So in order for this person, for the applicant to do a family lot split, they would need to rezone this parcel to a zoning district that would give them the assigned density to pursue the lot split. And that's what brings us here today.
Gotcha.
So would you say it was miszoned from the start because it was not a platted subdivision?
Yes, that was the information that I found in my research, myself and working with other staff, is that it had a blanket zoning overlay for this neighborhood, but the density was never officially assigned because it was unplatted. So therefore, we could not enforce a standard where density was not applied. And that's why the applicant ran into this challenge of having to go through a rezoning to get this process going. So that way they would have the density to pursue the lot split as the end result. And a breakdown of that information is in the staff report.
Well, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Because initially, when I looked at this, I'm like, I don't get it. It felt like a bait and switch. But I also agree that once we do change the zoning, then the cat's out of the bag.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so sounds like the applicant wants to speak to that, so
Okay.
I'll turn it over to him.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Reed? If we have them, we'll call you back up.
Daryl Barnhill, Barnhill, representing the Lindholm family. That's a very good point you brought up, and that's why I foresaw that you may bring up that. So I'd like to present our exhibit number 2. What that is, a notarized statement. If any of our owners, assigners, contractors, or anyone we sells to presents to you anything but a family lot split, we would request that you would take the zoning back to what it is now. That's how sincere we are about this. The second thing I'd like to present you is Exhibit 1. This is part of your staff report, but this family lot split meets the requirements with their comprehensive plan and the land development code.
Yeah, this is in our packet, yes. You guys want to see it? This was in the packet.
In my last exhibit is where we were required to do a comprehensive land use compatibility report. I don't know if that's in your land use, in your staff report or not. But I present this as my exhibit number 3.
Thank you.
What that compatibility report says in short, that after the family lot split occurs, our new lots will be as big or bigger than 80% of the surrounding lots. So we're not asking for something that's going to be incompatible with the neighborhood. It's very compatible with the neighborhood. So I ask you to approve this rezoning for the specific purpose of a family lot split.
Thank you. I have a question for Matt. So is Exhibit 2 a binding document that we can approve it with that?
It's something I'm gonna have to look into. I'm not familiar with this being done before, essentially contracting in exchange for the zoning. So it's something I'll have to probably discuss with their legal staff on that. So it's not something I've seen before, and it's something I'm gonna have to research. One thing I would bring attention to, if it's the intent of the applicant to put this into a record there, it might need to be formally received by the board there. If somebody intends to actually enter into the record to go into the file there.
We'll enter it.
Yes, thank you. You have anything else for me, Madam Chairman?
I don't believe so. Any questions for the applicant? I'm looking to Stephen and Ayanna. It's because it wasn't a recorded plat that makes things more complicated. And it sounds to me like the intention is indeed what they're asking for, and they want the lot split, which cannot be done under this current zoning category. I get that. And if that's what's happening, I have no problem. But I need, if we can make it contingent upon,
It's like I said, it's
I know you don't.
unusual request because
Well, it's an unusual situation.
normally we advise against contract zoning, but it appears like this is an unsolicited request to do so
Yes.
at the meeting. So that's something we'll have to look into, see if it's even something that'd be permissible there.
And just for the sake of conversation, going to neighborhood infill, the max density there is I think 8 units, right? So you're looking at less than a half acre, I think 0.4 or so. So the most they could get out of the piece would be 3, even with the rezoning, right? So we're looking at one more if for some reason that's not a binding document or something. And more than likely, the resultant lot sizes would be bigger than the majority that they're surrounded by already, so.
That's a good point.
So is that why it's infill and not low-density residential 4-to-1? Because
It's too small.
4-to-1 would not
Right,
get them
it would still,
to 2.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. 2/10 of an acre.
Yeah.
And Stephen, I don't know if it would qualify, but we could discuss if this would be something that could maybe convert into a developer's agreement. But I'll just have to look see if it's something we can even do on this. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly look into that as deemed necessary by you all, so. I'm not certain that it is, to be fair, but.
Same here on the fly, I'm not either.
Well, and the fact that, as you pointed out, Stephen, that even if all those documents aside and they end up, the max they can put there is 3 anyway, so I don't think that's a big deal. So, anybody have any questions for the applicant or for planning staff? I'd entertain a motion.
Do we have public?
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this rezoning? Thank you for asking. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Now, I would entertain a motion.
To approve.
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And with that, we will adjourn our planning commission for tonight.
Not so bad.
It
3.5
wasn't.
hours.
I know.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God. It's like.
Mumbling.